Hey, everybody. I am Mark Gorman, and I'm here with my colleague,
Brenda Hedrick, Chief Revenue Officer at Matrix Solutions.
I'm the CEO.
Mark's the CEO.
We just assume you know who we are if you're tuning into the pregame here. This is the pregame for Candid Conversations. These are our new Yetis here at Matrix. And in fact, if you're interested, you can pick this up down at our gift shop.
We're not doing tours right now, but whenever the world headquarters of Matrix Solutions is back open, you can pick up a Yeti and you take the tour of our office.
I mean, there's sweatshirts, baseball hats, you name it, we got it.
We got it. Backpacks.
We got it. So it's fall outside.
It is.
It's
and in Western Pennselsylvania today, it's a pretty.
It's a Western PA day.
It's a Western PA
it's
fall
rainy,
day. Rainy,
foggy,
damp.
Damp. Yep. Not so cold though.
Not so cold. Not yet. Not yet. Right.
Trick or treaters.
I understand we are still having trick or treat in Western Pennsylvania. So I went out and got my candy. Do you anticipate trick or treaters?
It's interesting. So you know that we moved from a condo to a home. And so first of all, when you move into a home, I was thinking about this today. I drove my car out. We actually have a garage now. Before I just parked outside. My car is now always dirty because I'm never caught in the rain. Before, it would rain. But I don't know if we're going to have trick-or-treaters or not. My understanding, where we live, we're considered on the bad side of the tracks, and just sort of a block away is where all the rich people live.
Okay.
So my understanding is everyone goes over there because they have the better candy.
Yeah.
I'm planning on handing out apple slices.
Oh, yeah. I will be missing your house. I did hear from the younger kids in my neighborhood that trick or treat is on. I don't know how many to expect, but certainly I hope they can. I mean, we're coming up, again, it's many months since March. We're still remote, but we're coming up where I understand it's a couple weeks period here where we need to be very cautious and diligent and wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your hands away from your face, do what they're instructing us to do, and hopefully we can get through this without a huge surge in cases. So if trick or treat needs to not happen, I would be okay with that given the safety of our of the people.
Sure. So, anyway. I mean, for me, I'm not a huge Halloween person personally, but I mean, I know a lot of people love this holiday. But for me, it's always been kind of like, you can see our lights just went out.
That's right.
No one's here in the office.
That's right.
So today, as you know, we got a fan favorite.
Yeah.
I say it all the time.
Mark has coined Jill
Rosengard Hill from Magid. She is going to share with you data that's fresh off the presses. I don't know. Did you get a chance? I did. I went back and looked at last year's video. You did as well. Last year's video. What's really great is if you haven't been to our summit before, we do take video of the presentations. People can download them, still see them. Certainly, even with these, you don't have to watch this live. Though, it's a little more fun. Plus, we get a lot of ads during the live feeds. That's how we're making our money here.
That's right.
But I'm
no political ads.
really, really, really interested to hear what has changed, because I remember from last year a couple of things that hit me last year. One, and maybe I'm quoting this wrong, but I believe she did say 50% or so of people still view the broadcasters, the ABCs, the CBSs, the NBCs as their main channels that they view. Also, I'm just going to throw it all out there. She predicted that cord cutting would slow down because millennials are coming back.
Yes. I did also happen to get
What do you think? What do you think we're going to see?
Well, I would not be surprised, right? We've had this conversation, you and I, throughout the summer. At the Hedrick House, not only do we have everything Xfinity can offer us, we have Apple TV, we have Disney Plus, we have Netflix, we have we've increased all of our services So, but we won't go away from, we are not cord cutters. So I do think, given the content, now I do remember also Jill had said, it's all about the content, right? And the ability to get good content and that the cord cutters are coming back, millennials coming back.
I think because of the ease, though, to be able
Right.
to access, as I recall.
And I'm curious because in some other things that I've read and Jill's data is, as you said, hot off the presses. People are now more accepting of advertising in their streams and as a way to reduce the costs. And also, I thought it was interesting from her presentation earlier this year, the aggregation of how you can access all of these different content, distribution methods, and how important it is to people to be able to, speak into your remote and get whatever you want, and the seamlessness of it, and the fact that ads are now accepted. I'm curious to hear. I feel like ad supported is coming back.
Oh, I would agree. And in fact, it's funny. We do watch a lot on the streaming.
Doesn't give your age when you say on the streaming.
We watch, but we have actually started watching a CBS. Well, we have CBS All Access, but actually on Netflix they do have some CBS shows. We started watching this show called Evil. It's actually pretty good. I don't know how old it is. That's the thing with streaming. I always think like shows could be 10 years old. I have no idea. I'm
just proud of myself for watching Emily in Paris.
Yeah, well, you got me on that.
I'm one of those.
The acting stinks, and the writing's pretty bad, but it's still entertaining. Now, okay, there we go. I'm sorry that I keep looking at my clock. As you can imagine, the Matrix Studios probably are not what our clients have. It's basically a laptop with a camera and this phone to keep track of time. I do think we need a better clock, but our alarm just went off, which means we have 30 seconds left. Tim Hanlon's going to be our host with Jill. So, for those of you who have been to our summit, Tim is part of our family, and we're very excited for that. It should be a great conversation.
100%. And Jill, I think we could say, while she's a fan favorite, she's also part of our family. She's been coming to our summit, and again, standing remotely when she presents, and we're thrilled to be able to offer her in a candid conversation earlier this year, or later this year, but earlier than January of 2021.
So Deanna, Caitlin, if you guys want to cue the music, I think we're ready to go.
Take it away.
Well, I got chills just listening to that. That's I wonder if we have a trademark on the music rights for that. Boy, it's just getting the hair standing on end there. I don't know about you, Jill. Yeah, it's amazing. Welcome everybody. Hi, my name's Tim Hanlon, and as announced, thank you for joining us as part of the latest in our conversations with our friends at Matrix. It does seem just like say ages ago, frankly, when you and I, Jill, saw each other last at the summit in person in Miami in late January of this year. And it just seems like it's been a whole lot longer than that. But I welcome you back, I guess, to the proceedings.
Thank you.
Before we sort of get into our conversation, how's life been at Magid and in the world that you guys follow?
Well, I miss you all. I still am down in South Florida where we live. And 2020 has been a year. It continues to be a year and a long year, but we're doing well. Thank you for asking. And lots of innovative research projects and insights at Magid during this tumultuous year, really wanting to understand consumer mindset as it pertains to entertainment, video, games. We've looked at lots of different products and services, some that have launched during a global pandemic, some who are weighing out the timing of launching new products as well. So, and consumers have been able to share the impact that the global pandemic has had on them through various surveys. We've done a tremendous amount of qualitative discussions, dialogue directly with consumers using digital tools, using video, going into their homes and understanding how they're using video. So my hope today is to share some of those insights with everyone and an update from the data that I had shared back in January with this group.
Well, as Brenda and Mark said, you are indeed a fan favorite, and let's consider this your third annual visit, even though it's technically your second in this year. And look, we did want to get into, and we thought was helpful to our audiences to, especially given what's going on in the last 6 to 7 months in terms of the global pandemic and viewing behaviors either exacerbating or changing or steady as she goes, to get a real, just general, literal and figurative update on various consumer habits and attitudes that are impacting how television and video streaming are working. So I don't think there's any more further ado. I welcome you again to the proceedings, and let's dig in, shall we, to some of the latest information you've got.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And that was great coffee talk from Brendan and Mark. I really appreciated hearing all the Halloween insights, as well as the predictions on what I was going to share today based on some of the things that I had predicted back in January. This study that I'm sharing insights with all of you is one that we've done for more than 20 years, and we update the content or the questions based on what's happening. And so I'm going to share with you some highlights that are very timely. We came out of field on October 1st. So this study was fielded the last week of September with consumers ages 13 and older, over 2,400 consumer respondents. And going into 2020, because of how many new services, both on the ad-supported side and the subscription side, Magid made a commitment to go into field twice this year, even before we knew, of course, of a global pandemic. So we fielded our first study the first week of March. And so we have this unique ability to share with you a pre-COVID and a post-COVID look at consumer perceptions. Remember, this is a self-reported survey, so it is not specifically data based on subscription. It is consumers telling us what they do, what they subscribe to, how they feel, their attitudes. So having this ability to look at the pre and, if we can say post-COVID or post-summer of COVID, let's take a look at what really has changed or how much has changed. So some of the things I'm going to share with you today is that streaming for the first time moves into the top spot of the platform consumers say they most use across all demos. Whereas before we had Gen Z and younger demos telling us that streaming was their preferred platform. Now across all demos, streaming moves into that top spot. I'll dig into that for you. Now, the stay-at-home orders and the quarantining during the pandemic definitely drove high levels of engagement with video, high levels of streaming, and of sampling of services. But what did not happen was an acceleration of cord cutting. And we'll dig into that a bit here. One of the other key takeaways is, new to the study, having launched in late November, Disney actually catapulted into the top tier of SVODs, along with Hulu, Amazon Prime, and of course, Netflix. But most of the other SVODs have only single-digit share, including those that launched during the global pandemic. That includes Peacock, Quibi, and HBO Max. And I think one of the biggest stories and takeaways, especially for those of you in the advertising community, that there is tremendous momentum for FAST, those free ad-supported streaming services or AVODs. So let's dig into the insights. From an overall time spent on entertainment in a typical month, consumers are telling us that about 61% of their time is spent with video across platforms, TV, online, and mobile. Followed by social media. Those of you addicted to social media kind of get that. 8% of their time spent on music. On average, we see about 7% gaming. That live out-of-home entertainment, obviously somewhat depressed during the stay-at-home orders, followed by good old analog reading and watching of reading news and reading magazines. One of the things that we see that has greatly increased over these past 6 months is video viewing. And we look at how consumers report a change in activities, their perception of their change in activities during and since the coronavirus pandemic, by asking which of these activities have you been doing more of, which have you been doing less of, or the same. And so when we look at that net positive, look at those scores on the amount of more viewing of streaming services, 31% net positive in terms of watching more movies, binge watching TV shows, even watching live television up in these double-digit positive, net positive scores, and an increase in watching short forms of video. And we'll talk more about short form video later on. Of course, one thing that's really interesting on the net negative side is the purchasing or electronic sell-through of movies to own, and a little bit of a net negative on the rental. We think that that is indicative of two things. One, spending a lot more time on the SVOD and AVODs watching movies, of course, with that net positive on watching movies. And also that there were just fewer movies in the market being released. Prior to the pandemic, there were probably, 5 to 10 new titles each Friday becoming available for rental or purchase. And that flow, that supply definitely diminished during this last 6 months. When we ask about consumers' concern about coronavirus, almost 7 in 10 tell us they're either very concerned or concerned currently. And that has an impact on both their attitudes and behaviors. In fact, a majority tell us that they still don't feel comfortable doing many activities. This is, what would you be comfortable, feel comfortable doing within the next 6 months? And while 2/3 say that they're likely to do things outdoors, eat outside, or take a walk in nature, only 1/3 say that they'll feel comfortable going to the movie theaters to watch a movie, or less, around 1/4 telling us that they'd be attending a concert or attending a play. And these really do, or sporting event, and these do then therefore have an impact on willingness to spend on digital services, and a willingness or a likelihood to be watching more video in home when they can't do these out-of-home activities. When we look at the share of wallet, in terms of where dollars are being spent, on average, people are telling us they're spending about $54 on their pay television in a tier of its own. In that second tier, about $10 to $20 on each of these activities: gaming, subscription to SVOD, and some live out-of-home activities. And then that third tier, which is less than $10 or $4 to $7 on these various other activities. So pay TV still dominates its share of wallet. When we look at what are the platforms that consumers are frequently viewing video on a daily basis, that's the orange. About 4 in 10 tell us that they're still looking to live television as it airs on a daily basis, and 2/3 frequently viewing on broadcast cable or satellite television. On the streaming side, those numbers are pretty much neck and neck. And that leads to the next or first aha, which is in our 3 tracking periods here dating back to 2019. The percentage of people who tell us that streaming is the platform they turn to most often to watch video for the first time leads amongst all consumers 18 and older. When you look at that by demo break here, you can see on the left-hand side that those under 35 predominantly use streaming most often to watch video. On the right-hand side, the older demos of boomers and the silent generation really driving the percentage that are choosing live television as the platform to most often watch video on. Now, we took a look, again, this is self-reported in terms of the share of total viewing time. About 2/3 of that viewing time is actually on ad-supported platforms. So the ad-free platforms, premium cable, HBO, Showtime, Epix, 6%, and SVOD at 29%. So about 2/3 are in the ad-supported viewing. And this bodes well, obviously, for advertisers. You're going to see this story play out as we look at consumer preference of SVOD versus AVOD and where that lands. And before we go into just SVOD and AVOD, I wanted to address the prediction that I made last year that Mark and Brenda previewed in our pregame discussion. We have seen cord cutting stabilize, flatten off over the last 3 waves of this study. Now, that could be, and this is among 18 to 64-year-olds who are pay TV subscribers. This is a top box answer in terms of their extreme likelihood to cancel their pay television service, cable, satellite, or telco in the next 12 months, and will not switch to another pay TV service, either another MVPD or a skinny bundle. Now, when we look at that in 18 plus, that's why the number is 11%. At 11% of those pay television subscribers who are very likely to cancel, almost half say they'll exclusively use another an SVOD service, a Netflix or a Hulu, Amazon, Disney, a combination of those as a likely result of their canceling pay television. And about 1 in 5 say they will go without pay TV in total. Another 20% or 1 in 5 say they're going to switch to a different pay television provider, not necessarily leaving the pay TV ecosystem. And that includes the group that says they'll switch to a skinny bundle or a streaming service like YouTube Live or Hulu. So let's go into a deep dive look at the SVOD versus the AVOD market. It's interesting, to date, 3/4 of US homes subscribe to at least one SVOD. And when we look at those who subscribe to one or more, 1/3 say they have 3 or more SVODs. And this continues to uptick. When we look at the SVOD ecosystem, and I'm not reporting obviously every single subscription video on demand service here, we see it in basically 3 tiers. The top tier are the Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and Disney Plus jumping into that top tier, all with share above 25%. That second tier made up now of HBO Max that launched in Q2 of this year, Apple TV at the end of last year, ESPN Plus and CBS All Access, which will be merged into the Paramount Plus service. And then tier 3 with less share, Starz, Peacock, WWE, and Showtime. And we'll continue tracking this. Obviously, there are many services below that are in our study, but I'm just sharing with you the top 3 tiers. What's interesting is to see the kind of incremental growth that has occurred over the 3 waves. And I'm just again sharing today the top 4 service providers. Netflix in about 53% of US households, last reported about 73 million subscribers in the US. And you can see the stair-stepping incremental increase that they have benefited from. Even after we saw a flat to down in 2019 amongst Netflix. Netflix definitely a big winner over the pandemic in terms of new subscribers, along with the big jump for Hulu and Disney. But what's super interesting here is the free streaming services and the momentum that they're seeing. In our data alone from March to September, consumers are reporting, more than half are reporting that they've watched an AVOD, and that's up 10% from March. You can see Pluto, Roku, Peacock, and Tubi here basically in a statistical tie. Interesting with Peacock first time in our study and jumping up to the same levels as the Roku channel, Tubi, and Pluto. And we will continue, we believe, to see this momentum based on this question. The interest in AVOD is quite strong. In fact, ad-supported streaming is the preferred viewing method for TV shows and movies, versus 38% saying they prefer to watch ad-free through a subscription SVOD, and 11% saying they're willing to pay on a pay-per-view download on an individual fee for a show or a movie. So when we break this down and we look at the consumer's willingness to accept commercials and ads, 50% say that they're willing to accept free ad-supported streaming ads and free ad-supported streaming services. Only a quarter on the pay TV service side. Again, based on the amount of money that they're paying, there's a perception that they shouldn't have to necessarily have ads in that. And 30% have a willingness on that subscription video on demand. We're starting to see many more hybrid SVOD services that are not necessarily ad-free in total, but have some level of ads in them. What's very interesting in this question is 40%, 39% tell us they were influenced by an ad that they saw in the last 6 months and had a action of either making a purchase or signing up for a service based on a digital ad that they saw. That's at the 68% who said they were influenced said it was an online video ad that influenced them. 2/3 said a traditional TV ad had influenced them. So consumer tolerance for ads in streaming seems to be quite open to ads. And one last on the likelihood to subscribe side, when we look at interest in the various top tier services, 41% say they're likely to subscribe or use Peacock on that free tier, above the intention to subscribe to the Disney, Peacock, HBO Max, and Quibi's at either a subscription fee plus ads, or a premium tier of ad-free. Again, showing consumer interest in these ad-supported services. Now, what's driving that? Well, when you look at the reasons for subscribing to a pay streaming service, 8 in 10 actually told us it's a reason other than the originals or exclusive content. It's that they're looking to find a good deal. It's that they're able to afford a subscription service again, or that they wanted to be able to download those videos or watch with another friend. 63% tell us it's specifically a content reason that drove their subscription, wanting to watch a specific original, or as a service that that their other services don't have the show that they're looking for. Now, this intent is countered when we ask about their intent to to retain the service. And about a fifth tell us that at the point of signing up for an SVOD to watch a specific show, they actually already know that they're going to cancel. More than a third say they plan to cancel immediately after watching that show that they signed up for. And the rest within a few weeks or within a month. This churn is significant, and likelihood to churn is significant, and one that is allowing consumers to subscribe to various different services over time and flow in and out without changing the share of wallet or the amount of money spent on those services. In fact, retention will be one of the biggest issues that many of these SVODs face as they acquire customers, which is how long can they retain these customers? And a third tell us they anticipate being with that service 6 months or less at the point of sign up. Now, this churn issue is not only amongst SVODs, obviously, and we talked earlier about pay television churn. This chart points to the fact that over a fifth of consumers 18 and older have canceled a video service, either pay television or streaming service. The pay TV top line here includes both cable and satellite, as well as skinny bundles. So we do see a lot of movement in terms of those who have canceled, but you can see that the churn, the recency of churn in the SVOD space is greater than the pay TV service. Consumers have the ease of signing up in one click and canceling in one click on the streaming service side. A little more difficult to cancel the pay television service. But what's interesting is their likelihood to come back into the market. Most consumers who have canceled an SVOD subscription tell us that they've either already returned 55% or 39% willing to concern. So most will come back into the ecosystem or are open to ebb and flow in SVODs. But on the left-hand side, you can see only about a third of those who have canceled pay television have either already signed up, and 12% who are likely to signing up. So we are losing about half of those who have canceled their pay TV service to the ecosystem, and they're not coming back. So that is of major concern. A couple more slides here, and then Tim would love to answer any questions that the group may have put in the chat box or anything that you'd like to share with me. You know, what's interesting is when you talk about what drives online or digital viewing, a lot of folks thought it was really a short form market. Of course, of late, movies and TV shows across various platforms are really dominating the viewing. But when you look at this by age breaks, short form video happening across all demos, with the younger demos really saying that a larger percentage of their video consumption is in that short form video. And that really plays out when you look at across those 13 and older, what are the services that they're spending the most time with on online video. And the largest percentage still goes to YouTube, the dominant online video provider in the space. Often YouTube looks like an MVPD to those 18 and younger. You could see TikTok there in the 6th position, actually, in terms of where short-term video consumption is taking place. But I thought it would share with you, though, when you really dig into that number, 52%, more than half of TikTok users tell us it's a habit. They're using TikTok every day. That is super high frequency. And why are they doing it? It's a place where the video is fun, funny. It takes little time to engage. There's always something fresh and new. And Gen Z really likes to create content as much as they'd like to consume it. So thought that would be an interesting tidbit to include here today. These are just some of the various highlights that we have from our 2 waves of 2020 video entertainment study from Magid. Feel free to reach out to me via email or our website to find out more. We have a very deep, robust data set, which we can share with clients.
You will see me in a second. So let me start the grilling then. So obviously this is this is obviously
Grilling.
knee deep of great stuff. So a couple of questions. So one in particular, sort of as you ended there with this sort of social stuff and TikTok, I'm wondering, have you been able to tease out yet, or perhaps in the future, or maybe have some inclinations about the, I guess, the big screen viewing of what is assumed to be small screen or mobile device driven video. So for example, is YouTube, not the premium version, but just YouTube as a lean back over the top television kind of experience. Anecdotally, I've been watching lots of old David Letterman shows that some person has lovingly crafted into not just the episodes, but thematics, right? And plays well for an hour and a half of content, not available anywhere else. I don't think, well, I'm wondering how much of a thing that is becoming. That is YouTube sort of as a lean back destination kind of thing versus just sort of a lean forward, clip based thing.
Yeah, I like that question a lot. And we definitely have been looking into this lean back, passive versus active on demand viewing across all platforms, not just YouTube. A number of our AVOD clients have asked the same as they look to create individual, unique, fast channels of a single genre or a single show. There is definite interest by consumers in doing that. We've also seen that for many years on the Netflix side with whether it's Friends or The Office, the ability to turn on one series and let it play in the background. It speaks to the way people have watched television for years as comfort food, as a companion, and now streaming has the ability to do that with autoplay. There could be less attention and less full engagement, and therefore not the best advertising spend. We haven't tested that, but I think you premised the question first by saying you're doing this on a big screen versus YouTube viewing, which may have been on the computer screen or the mobile phone. And yes, we would agree. I didn't share that data here, but the big screen is where streaming is being consumed through connected TV devices, through the seamlessness that the cable operators have begun to make available with YouTube bundled on the Xfinity X1 platform. We're seeing that online digital video is being consumed primarily on the large screen. So large screen is not necessarily just exclusive to professional content or high quality long form. We're starting to see a lot of short form consumption on the big screen.
So same type of question, but I guess from the perspective of access points. Maybe you haven't teased that out yet per se, or that's still sort of a work in progress, right? But it would seem to me to be really interesting to figure out both now and longer term as to where people feel most comfortable accessing, and maybe there's differences between subscription and AVOD, right? Through a quote unquote aggregator, whether that's a classic virtual or regular MVPD, whether that's a neo aggregator, like say some of these fast channel systems like a Tubi or a Pluto, or even a Roku, right, which is itself a channel for aggregation of content, but also a platform as an aggregation of apps for content. I'm just wondering, in this process, were you able to get any kind of glimpses to whether that matters, or perhaps preferences, or maybe that's just an evolving topic, the access points?
I did share that point last January, that almost 50% of consumers say there is some level of frustration with their the unbundled or lack of aggregation amongst their streaming services, and so that level of frustration has led to their desire or need for aggregation or more seamless access. Also an aggregation potentially of the billing. Obviously, we've seen Amazon solve for that. And now we're watching some of the MVPDs solve for that. There probably is an opportunity for some of the digital players to do the same. I do have some insights in our data set specific to that.
How about this tension? You had a couple of slides on this, but I think it's worth underlining and maybe augmenting further, this tension between, well, I put it out there as a continuum, right? So the ad-supported free thing on one side and the pure subscription with no advertising thing on the other side. One of the ideas that we've been sort of really trying to sort of share with our clients is sort of this age of hybridization, if you will. This sort of meld, this blend between the two of them, right? And arguably a Peacock and next year at HBO Max. I just wonder if you've gotten any inclination as to the directional behaviors or interests of consumers. Clearly, there's going to be some level of fatigue and or bundle recalibration, right? And the cost associated with that. And the comfort with having ad supported kinds of things, either fractionally in an app or just as a backup. So if adding a Pluto or a Tubi to one's bundle, just as a way to have content, but not add yet another premium service. I guess the question in there somehow is consumers obviously seem to be okay with free, but there's an appetite for the premium stuff. I wonder where the middle is, so to speak, between those two. Or is it way too early still to figure that out?
I don't know that it's way too early. I think we're already seeing, this lack of elasticity in the share of wallet, a pushback in having more than three or four services at one time, and the fluidity that they can go between services. So while they're adding one, they're often subtracting one. They're not spending larger amounts of dollars on the SVOD side. There's just a lot of fluidity and momentum. I think I went to this slide in particular, which really shows that there are already hybrid models that are out there, free, a small subscription fee around $5 with some ads, like the Peacock Premium, like you preview maybe HBO Max might be considering. And then the ad-free environment at a higher price point. I think that's confusing for consumers. I think the buy flow for the service has to be super clear when a consumer comes into the sign-up process of this product. It may also drive a lot of cancellation and churn as well. But, and I don't know anybody yet who has figured out the way to allow for easy upgrade or downgrade with it once you're already in the app. But I do agree with you that there needs to be various services in various price points with and without advertising to meet the consumer where they're at. I think we're going to see a lot more hybrid opportunities out there.
And how about sort of on the I guess the more niche, shall we say, services? I mean, I think I just saw data just like today or the day before. I think we're kind of approaching, if not at 300 or so pure play subscription SVOD platform offerings out there. Some maybe having advertising, mostly not. I guess the question in there is how many of them can survive? What is the appetite and how big can those services become? I'm really curious at some point, as you see all of those services, and they're probably in the dozens when you do your research, right? Given your user, your question base, just to how many of those actually show up, and frankly, how many are not. Obviously, certain content, certain niches are essential to various folks. I just wonder how much and how many of them can survive, especially given a complete subscription orientation, or maybe even have to consider maybe advertising to help keep them afloat and or broaden their audiences.
Yeah, I think consumers who have a strong passion or affinity for a type of content or a lifestyle may have willingness and dollars to spend. I don't know how long the tenure will be, but will commit to a subscription service that fills a void and fits their passion. So I do believe in niche services. I think the squeeze is going to be in that middle where services are not going to be able to spend the kind of dollars they need to acquire exclusive content, which is necessary to acquire the subscriber. They're not going to have the kind of budgets needed to market and break through the fragmentation in order to acquire the subscriber. And you're going to have this top tier of 5 or 6 major general aggregated SVODs, and you're going to have the various smaller niche, high affinity, high passion networks who aren't going to have to spend as much on exclusive content to attract the subscriber, because that subscriber is coming for their passion. And there'll be various library content or other content that will meet their need. It's that middle that I just can't imagine is going to be able to survive. I can't predict the number beyond that for you, but I mean, look, Netflix is in its 10th year. It's spending $14 billion on programming, and they're maybe in the black. And I just don't know how these other massive major media players who have made some very significant announcements in the last couple weeks about how they're leading with streaming and everything is going to go behind streaming, and yet they are mature media companies with massive shareholders behind them who may not have the same tolerance that a Netflix shareholder has had.
All right, so you went right into my trap for my last question, which is seemingly an odd one, because I don't think I heard the term at all in your presentation. But where is broadcast in all of this? Now, obviously, stations are starting to roll out OTT streams, usually domiciled from their own particular brand and their own particular market. Obviously, networks are going around affiliates, if you will, for content. The Peacock famously had a bunch of frictional points when you could watch the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon when it's actually being recorded or fed, versus having to wait until 11:35 Eastern time. But I guess the question is, where is broadcast television and there's those signals in the midst of all this, both in terms of how they get to a streamer kind of environment, or jerry rigging an antenna? I guess, does it go away? Does it matter? Is it just assumed that people will find alternate ways to get it? Should it become more streaming centric, so to speak, to harmonize with all the stuff that you're talking about here?
That's a multi-million-dollar question. And
I know. That's why I'm asking you, because you're one of the smarter people that I know about
I charge
this.
the big bucks for it too.
Okay.
Without deflecting, NBC and CBS are well positioned as broadcasters with their go-to-market streaming services right now. You can see the NBC lineup across Peacock. You can see the weight of its marketing. You can see the news, sports, prime time of NBC on
A lot of integration. Yeah.
Tons of integration. And I have to say, I think they're doing a fabulous job. You can see that CBS Paramount is going to do the exact same thing. Obviously, CBS All Access has had a really good number of years where it's built up its exclusives and the benefits of its current season content being made available with their owned and operated stations and their affiliates behind it.
Yeah, they probably haven't got as much credit, frankly, than most, right?
I don't
But
think they have.
totally
I
agree,
agree with you on that. ABC, it's yet to be seen really how Disney will integrate ABC either solely into Hulu how, and I don't know their strategy, so I can't speak to it. And I don't see Fox's go-to-market strategy right now being in the same ballpark as what NBC and CBS are doing. Will broadcast go away? Absolutely not. Should they be streaming? Absolutely. But they also have the unique signal and are a huge benefit from a local and live news and sports. So streaming has momentum. Broadcast is still strong. Consumers are still watching and wanting live television and some scheduled television too. There's still appointment viewing. There's still big events. So I think we're still in the nascent stages of this entire video ecosystem evolving. And it's really fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but perhaps that's some piece of evidence around your the notes that you made early on about MVPDs and the sort of the stalling, if you will, perhaps of what was unbundling. You know, perhaps that has some perceived or real value because those are easily aggregated bundles inclusive of the broadcast signals, et cetera, and stuff. So look, this is, as you know, everybody is just eager to ask you more questions and slides and all that kind of stuff. And again, I encourage you, you might want to put your contact slide back up.
Thank you.
So that people have that there. There you go. Always want to, and once again, you brought it and then some. This is, I'm guessing this is something that you're going to continue to latitudinally, if that's a word, move forward with and or embellish. And is there any sort of a cadence to how and when and how long, much more of these you do? And
yeah, thank you. Again, this is the first year after 20 years of one time in field that we are twice in field. We do intend to go again late January, February after the winter season to really track and see the impact of not only the pandemic, but new services in the market having a full year behind them. Our study and a custom presentation to clients is available. Please reach out to me and we'll figure out how we can do that for you.
well, look, I appreciate it. And I know on behalf of Brenda and Mark and all the team at Matrix, I don't know if they want to reveal themselves one more time, but my gratitude for saying yes one more time. We don't want to go to the well too much, but you are a constant source of nutrition and inspiration for us. And
thank you.
My thanks to making it a pleasurable opportunity as well, despite the fact that we're not physically present with each other. Brenda and Mark, I'll hand it back to you to say thank you, I guess. Yeah.
No, well then unmute.
You were unmuted.
Try it again. Why don't you go back to, yeah, you go.
Jill, as always, super great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us again.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you live at our
In
next
Florida.
summit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both very much. Really informative. Good stuff.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Brenda.
Bye-bye.
Mark.
Bye. Good
Goodbye,
day.
everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.